really good farmer markets, actually. Some of the like better, more organized ones that I've seen.
True.
Um,
I love the farmers markets here.
yeah,
I'm
and
always at
they
the
have
farmers
some
market.
really good programs that I don't think a lot of people know about. Like, did you know that if you have SNAP benefits, you can go to the farmers market and they will give you $10 in like free vouchers that you can use, and you can use your food stamps and they will match it. So you could go, they'll give you 10, you can spend 10 and they'll give you 10 more. So it only costs you $10 of your SNAP benefits and you get $30 worth of produce. So
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of places don't even know that that exists.
I mean, and when you consider combining those incentives, you have 50% off your groceries. So
Yep.
you get say $50 worth of groceries at $25.
Right.
You throw on the $10 voucher that they give you,
Right.
and you just got basically $50 worth of groceries for $15.
Right, and produce isn't cheap, and if you're on a serious budget, especially if you're like on benefits, then you have to count every dollar, and so if you can use that towards food that's gonna like make you feel better, then
Yeah.
that's great. So I think
Yep.
we're both using lots of fresh ingredients today.
Yes.
So I guess I'll start with the salad and the dressing. Are you gonna be able to get the camera angles this way, or do I need to move stuff around? Okay, so
Put them so they can see.
So, I think I said this last week, but I know most people, or I try to think of what people might not have at home, and I know a lot of people probably don't have like a mortar and pestle at home, but if you do, that's the best way to make this, because you can put all of the fresh herbs in here and just grind them down using this, and it brings out all the like natural essential oils that are in the herbs. It's definitely the best way to make dressing, so if you have one, use it, but I assume most people don't, so I'm going to show you how to do this without it. So, these are some herbs from my garden here in DC, in Southeast. I've got some purple basil, some lemon balm. I think I've got a few sprigs of rosemary in here, and then some parsley. So what I'm going to do is try to chop this up as small as I can. Do you have an herb garden, Miss Dankna?
I do, and unfortunately, I use everything all the time.
Oh, I use it all.
Like I don't. I literally like we also have strawberries growing. We do strawberries, cucumbers, squash, and that's what for my squash growers. I know you guys love that rain. You guys probably got some big melon squashes out there waiting for you. Rain and squash go hand in hand like a married couple.
My tomatoes are very happy about all that rain.
Girl.
Me not so much, but my dog's not so much. But the tomatoes definitely loved. Do you have some tomatoes this year?
No, you know me and tomato, we're not friends. We're not
I
friends.
have 7 tomato plants this year.
No tomatoes. No citric acid over here, buddy.
I'm so excited. I actually am growing some San Marzano tomatoes, which I've never grown before, but I'm super excited when those are done because I'm going to use them to make homemade spaghetti sauce. So I'm really pumped about that.
Now, I will say I have grown tomatoes, and that's one of the reasons why I don't anymore.
Yeah.
Because
They're a
if you
bitch.
don't know,
They're a
those
picky bitch.
things are ridiculous. And when they grow, they get... Like, you literally will have buckets of tomatoes. You'll be begging your neighbors to take tomatoes home. Like, it gets really serious. Two of my favorite types to grow, though, are the heirloom tomatoes and the pear tomatoes. Those
I
are
don't think
so
I've had
delicious.
pear tomatoes before.
They literally look like little baby pears, and they're yellow.
Well, you
and
know,
they don't have as much acidity. They have very, very little acidity.
tomatoes are in the same family as cannabis. Did you know that? The tomato plant is in the same family as a cannabis plant, and they are also very picky bitches as far as like they want good conditions or they are not going to give you good tomatoes. I actually have suggested to a few people who were interested in growing but don't live in legal growing places to practice with tomatoes in a growing tent. If you can grow a tomato inside in a tent and it comes out good, then you can grow cannabis. So
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
never thought of it that way.
yeah, it's a good old practice plant there. So I've got these herbs chopped up pretty finely. I'm going to put those in the big bowl. And then in addition to that, I've got a few dried herbs. I've got some chives, some oregano, and some parsley. Yeah, so I'm just going to put a little bit. I brought quite a lot, but I'm not going to put all that. you know, a lot of the thing is with herbs and I think most seasonings is that it's to taste. So I really hate recipes that are like, unless it's baking, that's like a teaspoon of salt or a whatever of garlic powder. I'm just gonna keep putting herbs and seasonings on until it tastes like I want it to. I mean, do you do the same thing?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, like spaghetti sauce, even like you can put all the right ratios, and then that batch just needed extra whatever garlic or whatever.
Yep.
So
That's the thing about working with fresh herbs and vegetables.
Yep.
You know, each vegetable, each plant that you grow will give you a different taste.
absolutely,
That's like our cannabis plants, you know, like the different phenols.
yep,
That's why we
exactly.
have so
Everything
many
has a different
different
terp
phenols.
profile and
Yes.
all these different things. So I've got some infused olive oil. I actually infused this whole bottle and then just filled the bottle back up. So I've got some infused olive oil. This was infused with our 9-pound hammer, which we grew here in DC. I'm just gonna use a couple tablespoons probably. What do you think? That's about 2 tablespoons. About 2 tablespoons.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So salad dressing is a lot easier than I think people think it is. I think that we've gotten so accustomed to buying it in a bottle that we just assume that's how salad dressing is. No. And you're totally wasting your money always buying, especially vinaigrettes. So the basic of...
I'm a little hungry. I don't think that's going to be enough for me, baby.
Oh, no, it's not. We're not done yet. So we're going to add some vinegar. You can add whatever kind of vinegar you like. You can use red wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I am a big fan of rice vinegar. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I really like it. So
I like it too.
Isn't it good? It's
Yeah.
very light. It doesn't have a very like overpowering taste like some of them do.
Yep.
So I'm going to put, I don't know, a couple tablespoons in there.
I do a lot of Asian cooking, so that's
yes,
definitely one of
absolutely.
my staples.
Yep, same. So then what I'm going to do is I have this honey from Colorado that I am addicted to. And it's raw honey.
Does it have good stuff in it?
It does. It is. Oh, no, it's not infused.
No, you know what I meant when I said good stuff.
It's not that kind of Colorado honey, guys.
Sorry, I like to infuse everything.
So, but it's really nice because it's affordable. And it crystallizes, which, you know, people, did you know honey is supposed to crystallize? And people don't know this. Your
Right.
honey is supposed to crystallize. That's normal. Doesn't
Yes.
mean your honey went bad. So I'm going to put, I don't know, another 2 tablespoons or so. Salad dressing, like I
No,
said,
that's 1 tablespoon.
about 1 tablespoon. So I'm going to mix this up. I'm probably going to add more oil. I just wanted to get this base kind of started. The thing is with vinaigrettes is that you don't, I'm going to definitely need more than this, but you don't need a ton of it to dress your salad because it's so thin, it's going to coat your salad without having to use a lot of it. So that's one of the other reasons I like vinaigrettes. So I'm going to do 1 lemon wedge juiced. And this is also a thing you can do instead of vinegar. So if you don't like vinegar, you can use lemon juice, orange juice, any kind of citrus juice. That's basically just to cut through the oil and make it lighter. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more oil. About another 2 tablespoons or so. Let's see where we are with there. We go. So now I've got this mixed up. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. This is sea salt. I was having a big debate with somebody the other day. Do you prefer fresh pepper or already ground pepper? Or does it depend on what you're making?
Everything is about freshness. So, yes, I prefer to grind my own pepper as I'm using it.
So, I agree
definitely
with
makes a
you
difference in
in
flavor.
theory. But when you're making like soup or something that's like large, I find it really annoying to just stand over the pot and be like, oh, like, you know what I mean? For like sometimes like 10 minutes of grinding it. So that I will use already ground for. But I agree that fresh is better.
No,
but it's
that's
not
my
always
restaurant.
most convenient.
That's true. But, you know, for me, I like the grinding because it makes me feel like Chef Boyardee or somebody.
All right, so I'm just going to see where we are taste-wise. Oh, yes.
That's something like you're not going to share?
No, I'm going to share. I was just making sure it wasn't terrible first.
Not. Oh, man.
And the good thing about mixing other fresh herbs with something with cannabis is that they do a really good job of blending with the cannabis so that the cannabis isn't overwhelming and you're just getting a blend of herbs. But cannabis taste in and of itself isn't a bad thing like people want you to think.
Right.
So I'm gonna put in, these are, like I said, fresh greens from my garden. These are some organic tomatoes down here. They did not come from my garden. And also some shredded carrots. So I'm just gonna add some of that into the bowl. You want to tell people about the spaghetti squash while I'm mixing this up? How did you cook that spaghetti squash?
So, we actually baked it. That's one of the things that people will find interesting. It makes an excellent replacement for traditional spaghetti. For people who are vegan, vegetarian, gluten free, or if you just want to try something different. I
Cut
found
down
that
on
it's
those
really great.
carbs.
Yep.
For sure.
Oh yeah, and if you make it right, you can trick the kids.
Oh, you
They
absolutely
have
can.
no clue.
You absolutely can. So,
Oh, yeah.
my ex-husband, fun story, was like super anti-vegetables for the longest time. So I would trick him into eating spaghetti squash by making this like taco casserole thing, where it would be like taco spaghetti, but it was baked and had cheese on top. Never knew.
Yep.
For the longest time, it was wonderful.
Isn't that the coolest thing? So, like, I actually have gotten the kids to eat, like, really, really healthy by incorporating veggies into, like, really simple things. So, whether it's a breakfast burrito with peppers and onions and some carrots hitting in there, or a good spaghetti with, again, some good carrots, and you got to get the eyesight right. So we get the carrots and the mushrooms and peppers. And I'm a fan of peppers and onions. I really am.
I love most things. Like, when people ask me about food, I don't understand picky eaters. Do you? Like, I really have a hard time when
I'm
people.
one.
You're a picky eater?
Uber picky, yeah.
See, I don't understand. That makes me so sad for you. Like, I don't understand how you function through life. I'm not picky, and I love all food. Like, people ask me about food, and I'm like, I love it all. Feed me, and I will eat it.
I'm allergic to cheap food.
I hear you on that. Like, quality of food is different. Like, I have celiac, so I can't eat gluten. So, there's things that we can choose not to eat, or whatever. But generally speaking, I don't cut myself off from types of food.
Right.
I like
Now that
all
I don't.
types of food.
All right. No, when I say I'm a picky eater, I'm picky about who
Quality.
prepares my food and where I source my food.
Makes
It's
sense.
very, very important to me to know the source of my food
Same here.
and how it's prepared. I even want to know how it's traveled to me and things of that nature. That was a big catalyst to me changing my diet and moving more towards veganism and just every day, as I build recipes and do research and do different things, the more and more I saw, it was just like everything's contaminated, everything's GMO'd out. Like, seriously?
We've really
Yes,
walked
no
away from like
GMO.
what food is supposed to be. And so you were talking about kids. I think another great way to get your kids to eat good food is to have a garden. Like, your kids are more likely to eat something that they grew themselves and then helped harvest, helped clean, helped cook with. Like, you're getting your kids really involved in the food
That is
process.
the coolest thing.
And therefore they are more likely to eat it. Like, that's what I guess I mean about picky eaters, like people that like don't eat vegetables or don't eat garlic or just things that are like great and that make food great and that make life great. Food is so wonderful and a big part of our culture as humans.
Yeah, but one of the things I've discovered over the years of research and talking to many different people is that a lot of times the foods that we are like we think that we just don't like them. In all actuality, at some point in time, our bodies have more than likely had a bad reaction to them.
Yep.
And so for us, it most likely was in childhood when we didn't know the difference between good and bad food.
Yep.
But we just knew that tomato just made my tummy hurt. And every time I eat them, they make my tummy hurt.
Well, and also the way it's prepared. Now, I used to think that I didn't like a lot of vegetables. Like Brussels sprouts are one of the more famous ones that I can tell you about because I would
Yes.
cry if I came home from school and could smell Brussels sprouts cooking in my mom's kitchen because I knew I was either going to go to bed hungry or I was gonna get my ass beat. Like, it was gonna be one or the other over the Brussels sprouts. But turns out, I actually really like Brussels sprouts. I just don't like boiled, saltless Brussels sprouts. I like them braised or roasted or sauteed. Like, so a lot of times when people don't like foods, it's because they haven't actually had good experiences with those foods too. So it couldn't sometimes makes them sick, and sometimes somebody didn't make it right. I didn't even know broccoli with cheese was a thing until I was in like middle school.
Oh, you so deprived.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I would be like, broccoli is nasty. What do you mean you want broccoli? No, and because my mom's a dietitian, so vegetables in our house were steamed with nothing, and that was just it. And because it was better for you that way, and it's true. But you know what? I would much rather have a really diverse, healthy set of food that tastes really good and it makes me want to eat it than be forcing myself to eat something I don't want, and then I'm just gonna end up eating junk food later. So I've actually lost a fun little side fact for those who haven't known me for a long time. I actually used to be way bigger than I am now. I've lost like 125 pounds in like 3 years. Yeah, and a lot of that is from totally changing to like real food and preparing food for yourself and like just tweaking things that you like into something that tastes really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like for me, that I began to explore natural cooking when I had my first child, and it was just like that was like the Murray Steakhouse phase where it was like if you were a young girl, it was guaranteed you had Murray Steakhouse stuff in your fridge, and I was just like, never, my child. So like literally, I would be in the kitchen like rolling pie crust and I'm doing stir fries and all kinds of stuff. And it's cheaper
to make stuff from scratch. Like,
exactly.
We've been tricked into thinking that it's not because they market these cheap foods as, inexpensive. But in actuality, like a pie crust, if you go buy one that's pre-made, it might only be a few dollars, but flour is not that expensive.
I was about to say.
And butter and oil are not that expensive. If you can't have gluten, you can make a gluten-free pie crust. Like, this costs pennies to make in comparison to going, and a bag of salad mix at Safeway last week was $4.99. I'm not paying $4.99 for something I can grow in my yard.
Right.
So
the spaghetti squash is enough to feed at least a family of 4, and that dish costs less than $10 to make as well.
Exactly. So I think it's more about like educating people that it's not just looking at like what people deem as healthy food, but learning how to make stuff from scratch and like and if you work, do something on the weekend so that you have something ready for the week or whatever. But there are ways you can do it, but definitely making things yourself is definitely the healthiest way to go. So the salad is done. I've got it all tossed up here. And everybody that's here today is going to get a sample of it. How else did you want to walk us through your dish?
Yeah, I needed the oil though. My oil is there.
I'll go grab it for you because I'm going to go grab myself.
It's not like we're going to.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So today,
Oh, Big Worm would be very mad at me if I did not mention this. When you're buying olive oil, make sure that it's from California and not from Italy, because most of the Italian olive oil is actually not olive oil. So, fun fact, but look that up. Usually it's blended. Apparently, like, the mafia runs the olive oil, like, seriously, look, Google it. Now that they've, like, pulled and had to, like, run tests on all these olive oil, like, distributors in Italy, they found that they're cutting it with like canola oil and all these other kinds of oil. So most of the like 100% extra virgin olive oil is not actually olive oil. So it's all a big scam. So make sure you get California, USA olive oil. So anyway, continue on.
Okay. So today what we did was, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it before, but if you're not familiar with it, I bought in the raw vegetable so that you could see
of the spaghetti squash.
Yeah, so this is what the spaghetti squash looks like raw when you purchase it from the store. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and
there you go.
There we go. So yeah, so we want to go ahead and we're going to scoop out all of the seeds and the pulp that's in the middle. Once we have that all scooped out, personally, I like to give this a nice good coating of olive oil throughout the entire thing. Make sure you No, rub it down. And of course, we are using infused olive oil. And I do that because I personally like the taste of cannabis blending with my foods. I think that it really brings out a lot of different flavors. So I do actually cook my foods with the infusion, if that
Right.
makes sense. So we're gonna coat this with the infused olive oil, and then we are gonna put this in the oven for about 30 minutes. Is what I did for half
Do you wrap it in
half
foil?
squash. No, actually I
Okay.
didn't. Nope, no foil or anything. The outer shell of the squash, as you see, stays intact.
Yep.
And so it kind of provides like its own bowl,
Right.
basically. And so once the squash comes out, it's gonna look like this. But if you take a fork and pull it, let's see if I can find some and show you.
There you go.
It's gonna be stringy. So you
Like
get-
spaghetti.
Exactly. So you're gonna have strings like spaghetti. And so you just kind of take your fork and you're gonna rake through it. And some people, you might want to just eat it the way it is, simply with the olive oil. But if you want to make it a meal, you can add some spaghetti. Well, we added some spaghetti sauce, just some basic mushrooms, a little bit of parsley, and of course our favorite seasonings, and some fresh red onion to kind of give it a little kick. And we now have a delicious meal for four.
Delicious. I love spaghetti squash so much. Usually I make mine in the microwave. I have roasted it a few times like that though. You can also make it like as a substitute for mac and cheese. You can use it as a noodle substitute. It's delicious.
Interesting.
Yep.
Gotta keep it a secret that it's squash though.
Yeah,
don't like
for
squash.
real. People just don't know. It's delicious.
So this isn't really squash, guys. This is actually just spaghetti. We're tricking you. No, we're just teasing. But yeah, like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't eat squash and things like that.
There's so many kinds of squash though. When people say that, I'm like, are you talking about yellow squash, zucchini, summer squash, spaghetti squash, butternut squash, acorns? Like what kind of squash are you talking
I
about?
couldn't
Because
help
they're all
myself.
different. Like acorn squash and butternut squash remind me of like a sweet potato.
Very true.
You know what I mean? But like I love some zucchini.
Butternut squash makes an excellent soup. And zucchini is like everything when it's fried.
Yes, or grilled on a grill with like
Yes,
a lemon
that's really
wedge on
good.
it, and like oh my gosh, so good.
Mhm.
Okay, anyway, so is
That
this all we
spaghetti
got
squash
today?
needs some attention. So yeah, so these are just the two main things that we'll be doing today. Next week, I think that we should do some desserts. We should
I'm
just
down.
make next week like a total dessert edition.
I'm down. I'm also down for a breakfast for dinner episode.
Ooh,
So-
burritos?
Ooh, or pancakes.
How
I have
about
a
burritos
gluten-free
and
pancake
pancakes?
recipe that's really good. Yeah,
So I
with
think
like infused syrup.
sounds like it sounds like we're gonna be having some dinner for breakfast soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is a really good example of like a healthy way that you can infuse your dinner at home, like on a weeknight, without taking a lot of time. Like all in all, I think even with the prep work, this is 40 minutes max, maybe.
Yep. For the
Yeah.
entire meal.
For the
this
entire
was a total
meal.
45 minutes.
And most of
From
that
start to
is like
finish.
while it's cooking the squash. It probably only takes just a few minutes to put everything together.
And if you're lucky, I recommend like that new wave oven because then you can set it and forget it, go jump in the shower, come back, and your dinner's all ready and waiting for you.
I think you can do these in the Instant Pot too, can't you? I don't have one yet.
Of course you
I gotta
can.
get one.
You know, I was gonna bring my Instapot just to demonstrate how to do that.
You could have probably done it in 5 minutes in that Instant Pot.
Very true.
It cooks chicken breast in 2 minutes. I
Are
need
you
one.
serious?
Yes, I need one in my life. This is what I'm saying. I gotta make room, y'all. I have a tiny apartment, but or house, but I'll make room.
I need to cook more. But I'm already cooking a ton.
Life.
So yeah. So, so when it comes to like dosaging and things like that.
So I ended up putting in a total of about 4 tablespoons in here. Trying to think. I should have done the math before I came over here today. We just made it yesterday, so 4 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons is a quarter of a cup, so it's almost a half a cup, right? So it's almost, there's probably about 200 milligrams in the whole salad. This is going to be split up for a lot of people. So depending on how many servings I get. But if you were at home, I'd suggest doing about half that amount. So I would suggest doing about 2 tablespoons of infused olive oil and 2 tablespoons of non-infused olive oil. Make about 100 milligram salad, split it 4 ways, and you've got 4 25 milligram salads.
Awesome.
What about yours?
So this one isn't infused. What I wanted to talk about today was
How to infuse
clarifying the infusing process and how our patients and people at home are supposed to kind of figure out what their dosaging is. So I was asked a question today, like, well, how many grams is 750 milligrams of THC?
I mean, that depends on what you got.
Exactly.
It's not
so
across the board. It depends on the percentage of your plants.
Right. Exactly.
You can make estimates. You can make guess. Like, so say you got something from someone. They have no idea what the percent is. You go home and you look it up on, like, Allbud. Allbud is a good site to give you ranges. So say that they say that range of flour ranges from 12% to 18% THC. My suggestion is always go low. If it says 12 to 18 and you don't have lab results in front of you, assume it's 12 and go from there. So every gram is 120 milligrams.
Exactly. And if you're lucky enough to be able to purchase your meds at the dispensary,
or grow and get your own lab tested results,
even better. Yep. Even better. At the dispensary, of course, they give you the packages with your percentages on them.
Yes.
So what that percentage means, if you just purchase a product that say 23% THC,
right,
what that translates to is it's 230 milligrams per gram of flour.
Right.
So if you have 3 grams of flour at 23%, that would be what, 690 milligrams, I'm sorry?
Yep,
that would be 690 milligrams.
Yep.
And if you took that 690 milligrams of oil and you made, say, a pan of brownies and you cut them into, say, 10, then that would give each brownie 63 milligrams as the dosage.
Right.
So basically you're going to take your starting material, you add a 0 to the percentage.
Yep.
You divide that by how many doses or edibles that you make of that.
Yeah, and always, if you're baking, always go up in what you want. So, like, if it was going to be 60 milligrams, by the time that it's done baking, because it's going to lose something, it's probably plus or minus 5 milligrams of that. So always just, like, if you want 50 milligrams, probably make closer to 60 to get it an accurately closer to 50. I know it gets complicated. I'm not trying to confuse anyone, but when you bake, some of the THC can cook off or convert. So, you know, that gets a little bit more advanced. We might have to do, like, a whole thing about just that.
Exactly. Now, there's been a lot of chatter across the internet lately about to decarb or not to decarb. I can tell you from doing thousands of experiments and thousands of products, you definitely must decarb. And you do decarb for both edibles and topicals in order to get the proper, and tincture. Now,
with topical, you can do a blend of both if you're trying to utilize the THCA. Because I've done that. Like, I've done half of the product decarbed and half but not. But for edibles and other things, that shouldn't, if you want THC, the only way the THC is going to be activated is if you decarb it. And I also suggest that if you're going to do that you get an ardent decarber. They used to be called Nova decarboxylator. Do you have one?
No, actually.
You're going to need one. Let me tell you, it'll change your life, girl.
Girl, I don't know. I just invested in the Magic Box. So Magic Butter has, and another thing, people are always asking about the smell. Box. Yeah, they're always asking about the smell. You don't like that?
You gotta get the Ardent. It has a silicone lid on it, so it doesn't smell anyway. You can put up to a half gram of flour in it. You literally push the button, it will turn red. When it turns green, it is guaranteed decarb. It's like 99,
so cool.
And it's so wonderful. Like, I can't tell you enough, like, how much it's changed, like, the quality of my edibles since we got it. Like, they're usually about $200. You can usually find a coupon code to get like 30% or $30 off or something. But I would give up all the Magic Butters in the world before I gave up that Ardent decarber. Like, it's just, especially for people who want to do it a lot, but they really look. I fully admit I have fallen asleep while decarbing more than once in my day, and then woken up to a house that smells like burnt weed. And
Girl,
let me tell
it's
you,
nothing worse.
it's the worst. You don't have to do that with this thing. You push the button and you come back whenever you feel like it. It takes an hour and a half, but you could take 3 days to come back. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be sitting in there waiting for
That's
you.
dope.
It's
That's dope.
wonderful.
That's dope. They're like decarbing is definitely essential. With
I don't know what people are talking about when they say you don't need to. Anybody that tells you that you don't need to decarb for edibles, just don't listen to anything else that person says. Like, not a word, because they have no idea what they're talking about. So, yeah.
Realistically, I've made that mistake, and I have no problem with admitting it.
Back in the
because I wanted
you
to
were
know.
a professional, sure.
Well, no, you remember I just spent an entire year just kind of in the back burner doing
Right.
research.
Right.
So in the course of my research, that of course I had to find out firsthand. So that way, when I'm giving advice to my clients,
Right.
I know firsthand. Like,
Right.
okay, no, this is exactly what will happen. Like, no, you don't want to ever over decarb your bud and try to make a tincture.
Don't do it. Just yeah. The other thing is, a lot of people don't realize that you need to decarb CBD too. If you're trying, if
Yeah.
you have a CBD flower, like I have some right now, Midnight Express. If I want to make oil with that to make CBD edibles, I still have to decarb it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're making edibles, you have to decarb it. If anybody tells you different, just walk away. The other day, I saw somebody commenting on an online forum that you could just go old school, grind up some bud, and put it in a mix of brownies. He's on the naughty list, guys. Like, that's not acceptable. Don't ever tell anybody to do
He
that.
was trying to make firecrackers.
Right. Like, this is not 1961. Like, we've evolved from then. So,
Exactly. Yeah, totally. So, like, now that we know how to decarb our bud, like, what about different mediums? Do you have a favorite medium that you like to use?
Coconut oil, for sure, because I find it to be the most versatile, because I can use it in savories or sweets, and it absolutely is just as good as butter when it comes to textures for baking. So coconut oil is definitely my favorite, but it's not everybody's, I know. So,
Right.
what's yours?
Correct. Actually, mine is olive oil.
See, a lot. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
favorite, because I love savories.
Right.
And when it comes to savories, I find that olive oil, because of the higher temperatures
Right.
and things. Not that I use them, but
Right.
it just stands up better.
Right.
For most products. So
I
yeah.
agree.
And as you see, that's what we use for both of these products, and we got some good stuff.
Yep, for sure. Well, if you guys have any questions, you can send us comments or reach out to us on social media. How can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Bud Life Exclusives. That's BUDLYFE Exclusives. Or on IG at Miss Dankness _Bud Life.
Very cool. You can find me on Instagram at CannabisDC or on Facebook at Princess P. I think that's about it. All we've got for today. Hope everybody has a good day.
Bye bye, guys.